Late last night, we were terrified to hear the initial reports of Grant falling ill in the extra time session between Argentina and Netherlands. He was covering the game at Lusail Stadium. We were even more shocked and saddened to then hear those reports confirmed that Grant was taken to a hospital. And like many of you, we were distraught when we got the final message this morning that Grant Wahl passed away at the age of 48. I think we're both probably still, to be honest, in shock. I want to get your feelings on this in just a minute, but I think it's appropriate to start with some of the reaction that we've seen from around the soccer world, and probably no better place to start than with the statement that was released by the U.S. Soccer Federation, a federation that has for a long time worked hand in hand with Grant Wahl throughout his illustrious career. This is from the U.S. Soccer statement. The entire U.S. Soccer family is heartbroken to learn that we have lost Grant Wahl. Fans of soccer and journalism of the highest quality knew we could always count on Grant to deliver insightful and entertaining stories about our game. The statement would go on. Grant's passion for soccer and commitment to elevating its profile across our sporting landscape played a major role in helping to drive interest in and respect for our beautiful game. As important, Grant's belief in the power of the game to advance human rights was and will remain an inspiration to all. The statement closes with an offer of condolences to those who knew Grant best, including his family, friends, and colleagues. And as you can see here, ahead of tonight's matches on the FIFA official Twitter account, a tribute to Grant Wahl, who was covering this, his 7th Men's World Cup. It's difficult to know where to begin, but I think the feelings right now are very raw, so I guess let's start there. What are you feeling?
You know, I'm terrible with death. Dealing with it, talking about it, I don't even know where to start. I'm one of those people. We found out that something had happened a few hours before the rest of the world. That numb feeling, that shock, the disbelief, because we literally spoke to Grant, we're in communication with Grant the day before. Mm-hmm. He'd invited us to his birthday party here in Qatar. I had a short conversation with him. And then to hear something like this, it's difficult. And I see the reactions from people. And how everybody has a Grant Wahl story.
Yep.
How everybody shares the same sentiment. Just how kind of an individual he was. It makes me feel terrible how I took him for granted. And I'll use my own personal experience. Since I can remember Grant Wahl, when I was coming up Major League Soccer, the Galaxy 2005, that was my first recognition of Grant Wahl. When the producer asked if I had a picture with Grant, I was sure I had a picture. I was sure I had something. I've had moments with Grant, and I couldn't find a picture with Grant Wahl. And I started thinking about every major moment in my life. Forget about football. In my life, my personal life, my wedding day, the birth of my daughter, my son, my birthday. Then you go professionally, my retirement, the birth of this show, Futbol Americas. There was always a Grant Wahl text message. And I took it for granted. And I feel terrible. he really was one of the kindest individuals in this American soccer sphere. You know, the man personally knew my wife. He spent time in my home. He came out to see me in Torreon, Mexico, convinced Sports Illustrated to write a story on me. He was one of my first colleagues when I started working at Fox. Still an active player. Pulled me to the side and said, you have a major future in this. Keep going at it. Every single thing that I tried in this sport was in some way, shape, or form encouraged by Grant Wahl when he didn't need to.
Yeah.
You know? I'm shocked. I was shocked. I was saddened. I was angry at online. His wife hadn't even made a statement, and there were speculations, and there was people already doing things for cheap clicks. To be on first, I just a wave of emotions, but I'll leave it at this. The overwhelming love that this man has received to me is eye-opening.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a little upset that I didn't get to that I took him for granted so much.
Yeah. I think the thing I feel is just like an overwhelming sense of loss, like irreconcilable loss. I think that's mostly for the people that knew him closest, his family. But I think beyond that circle, there is the circle of the American soccer media. There's not a ton of us. There's more now, but for a long time it was, 5 or 6 names that you knew, and that was it. And Grant Wahl was one of those names. And I always kind of thought of Grant as within that group, part of, or the entire kind of moral backbone. And sometimes we disagreed, or we didn't like that. We don't like being told what's right or what's wrong. But without a spine, you can't walk. And I really, truly believe that he kind of held American soccer journalism to a moral standard that will be very hard to replicate in his absence. There's a massive void. And then beyond that circle, for me, there's another circle of the American soccer family. Because I think everybody that loves the sport in the United States at some point has felt like an outsider. You try to talk about soccer and the people around you don't really get it. So when you find people that do get it and do love it, there's a real connection there. I don't know that he was the patriarch of that family, but he was damn close to it. I can't think of anybody else that I would assign that title to. And so it really feels like a member of the extended family is gone, and gone way too soon.
You mentioned how you didn't always agree with them, and it's funny because there are plenty of people out there who didn't agree with Grant Wahl on a lot of things.
Right.
Maybe a majority of things, but they respected Grant Wahl, what he's done for the growth of this sport in this country. We come from a world, Seb, where we're used to the Jose Ramon Fernandez, Carlos Alberto. We're used to Gomez Junco. There's a tree of these figures in our world. He was one of the only figures in our world.
Yeah.
If you had to say
north of the border,
U.S. media in American football, American soccer, the number one name that would pop up to everybody is Grant Wahl.
Yeah.
It really was.
Yeah.
He's 48 years old. It goes to show you how amazing a career he had. 48 years old, and he was already that figure. I mean, just saw him receive a little trophy, a little FIFA award from FIFA for
7 men's World Cups, 5 women's World Cups. So I think this was 12 overall for him.
The man dedicated his life to the sport here in the U.S. when maybe it would have been more fruitful to do other things.
Yeah. If I could just say a few things, like I'm not a journalist, but kind of in that journo world, some things that I admire about Grant. He was not a one-trick pony, right? He was plurifuncional, as we talk about kind of soccer terms. He was a dogged reporter. He would break news and break significant news, and that's like, one skill. He was a brilliant storyteller. I can just right off the top of my head, I think of the Freddie Adu podcast that he put out that told Freddie Adu's story. I grew up a few years older then, but in the same DC world as Freddie Adu. I consumed that so quickly. I loved every second of that podcast. There's the documentary out now.
I did 3 hours with him.
I know.
In that documentary. He questioned me for 3 hours, and I just remember. I mean, I'm a nerd at heart when it comes to football, and to sit down and just be part of that.
Yeah.
I mean, just the questions. He knew exactly where you were coming from by the questions he would ask you. I'm a kid who grew up in two worlds, just like you, Mexican American, and the questions he was asking is what we do on this show. It's what we like.
He got it.
He got it.
Yeah.
He got it, and not a lot of people get it. And you could say what you want about him or his style, but the man got soccer in this sphere. The man got football, and I truly feel he wanted American football, American soccer to be respected, to be equals in the world's game. And if you talk to anybody, and we've been here almost 40 days, Grant Wahl is a recognizable figure for our international media. Our colleagues south of the border on Deportes, on Latin America, as soon as I walked in, the talk was Grant Wahl and who he was, what he had done, and how tremendous of a loss this was.
Yeah. Just to finish the thought on the documentary, Good Rivals, I think it came out like Thanksgiving Day. Yeah. It's basically USA-Mexico rivalry, the history of it. I can't wait to get back and watch it now. I already felt that way. I feel more that way now. There's one more thing I want to say about Grant's ability to do it all. He was also a brave journalist. And anybody who wants proof of that can see what Grant was writing about, what Grant was tweeting about, what Grant was wearing, and where he was doing it from in the final days and weeks of his life. That takes a lot of courage. And I think, you think about this American soccer landscape, we all take from the game. Grant and his family can say he left it a lot better than it was. Let's get some more reaction from around, not just the soccer, but the sporting world as well. This from Gianni Infantino, the FIFA president, who says, "It was with disbelief and immense sadness that I have been made aware of the passing of renowned sports journalist Grant Wahl." Infantino closed his statement by saying his love for football was immense, and his reporting will be missed by all who follow the global game.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN Plus.